Hi, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Timo and welcome to this episode. Now, this episode is quite different because we are going to go into, about knowledge about other countries as compared to Uganda. And today we're here at the recapbrandhouseug studios and we are with someone who has the experience and has moved places. Well, we met on our hip hop project that is airing on Galaxy FM. So he came with these ideas that I've never had before. Well, he was unknowingly, putting information in my head. And that's what you need as a radio producer. You really need to freshen up your mind when you meet new people, most especially if they're coming from other places that you've never been to. Probably they know what you don't know. And it's so important that you keep these people close because they might be your next destination might be that place that they have been to. So the knowledge that you got from them can really help. Today, I have a guy called Chris. Chris is so much of a hip hop freak, but also knowledgeable about radio. And of course, he has moved in a lot of countries. He told me he's moved into Angola, Malawi, and so many other African countries. Today, we have him on the podcast. My name is Timo, and Chris, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you so much, Timo, for having me.
So, first things first, tell us about yourself and what you do.
Well, I'm an absolute hip-hop nerd, grew up with hip-hop basically from the year of his birth, so going back 50 years. I've been involved with radio for a long time. I've been working with Kiss FM Berlin, but then basically I moved into the development sector, created my own company called Minibus Media, where I've been focusing on participatory video projects, but also always keeping in mind, and how far radio actually works better to, give people more access to education.
So, would you say Kiss FM Berlin is the franchise that has Kiss FM here also part of that?
I don't think. I mean, Kiss FM is like a name, but I think everybody does its own thing. Kiss FM New York is a completely different set than Kiss FM Berlin. Do you have Kiss FM here in Uganda?
Yeah, well, it's an affiliate of Capital FM.
All right. So I didn't even know that. So I think everybody does something on
new,
its own.
Like a year or and more, like that.
Nothing else I think they have in common but the name.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what's left over, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably you might not be mistaken because they also have it in Rwanda, I guess. Also, I think in Kenya. But all those radio stations in Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda are owned by the same person. Anyway, let's start off. Your experience with radio has really, moved this far for a lot of years. And you've been to Uganda and you've been to a couple of radio stations. First of all, tell us what's the difference between the African radio stations that you've been to as compared to the Ugandan radio stations?
All right. Well, I must say, I can just, make comparisons to the countries, obviously, where I've been. So that's like Mozambique, Malawi, and Angola. And there it's sort of like a time travel going back 10 to 20 years. Nothing really has that much advanced because it looks like the supporters of the radio stations are not willing to invest that much into radio any longer. Whereas here, I feel like, wow, this is such a vibrant radio culture here in Uganda. And obviously people have been doing the right thing, investing into stations like, Galaxy and even going beyond and having understood the concept, how important social media is. And I think even social media-wise, you're more on point than even guys in Germany.
For real?
Yes, for real. It's completely something that you do, provide content also on TikTok and on YouTube. Because, I mean, come on, how many guys are working for your radio there at Galaxy? I think roughly 50, if that's even
more.
Even more. So just speaking of 50 people, you know how much money that would cost in Germany, like per month? And I think because radio isn't that much anymore like how people get their information from, especially the youth in Europe, money is moving more into the social media corner than into radio in itself.
Okay. So when you say radio, people don't take radio like that vital in regards to information. Is it the same way in Germany?
especially Germany, they're moving away from radio, they're moving away from TV, they get their information from Insta, I've heard statistically wise, 50% of the youth is receiving now their news from Facebook, which I find more than critical and dangerous.
Why?
Why? Because Facebook, I can write, tomorrow I'm going to kill the president, and then they're going to podcast it, and then it's just a hoax. So there is no control within all of these social media networks, and that's what we should really have a focus on as well, that whatever is on social media doesn't necessarily mean that's news. It might be opinion, and that's where it's still a lot being used for, but that is really dangerous, I must say, because Facebook hardly regulates. They all say, we're against fake news and against wrong and misinformation, but in reality, if we've been looking down the last 10 years, it's nothing they've been really putting into practice.
Okay, for starters, let's see the production and presentation and in other countries, African countries that you've been to. How are we? How have you had our links, the sets, the setup? How is it there?
Like again, like a time travel, like Uganda maybe has been like 10 or 20 years ago. I haven't been. What was it? Malawi. I've been visiting. That was 10 years ago, anyways. But the investment was just lacking. And like again, there's no Uganda. I think is second to none when it comes down from a diversity of radio stations and the impact which it has. I think most of the radio stations which I've experienced in other countries, they're faith-based, and faith-based is away from commercialism. So they don't. If we're talking about content creation within faith-based media, that's again a whole different story in itself.
So speaking about commercials and commercializing radio stations. How much would it take for me to run a 10-second ad in Germany?
I don't really know. I don't want to spread any wrong numbers here. I don't really know
you don't have, say, like $20, $30, $40?
No, you need more than that. And it's like sponsorships which are going like over a month. So you buy basically a package. And then they say, okay, these are the times which we can offer you. Here you have a jingle, and that's usually around 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So comparable like how your jingles are.
The advertising industry here is quite interesting. It's like goes down, goes up, it has a lot of dynamics. So if you're working in the advertising industry, you really need to put your 2 feet on the ground, because next time it's doing well, the next time it's doing quite fairly, then the next time it's actually doing very bad.
All right.
Adverts here, it's actually even now abnormal for you to tell a client that, we are taking 30 seconds. They feel like, with all my information, where will you put my information? So they think the longer it takes, the more valuable. Well, of course, it has more value, but according to the radio station and then the standards of the Uganda Communications Commission, 30 seconds is what they demand for. I've seen a lot of adverts from other countries, and mostly say like UK, a 10-second advert can pass on radio or on TV, or 20 seconds or 25, and it has all the information you need. What do you think is lacking here?
I don't know, better guys who do better promotion, If you can get your point across in 10 seconds, then why make it 30 seconds? It basically all comes down to the money. If you have a lot of money, I think it's definitely makes sense to have like a half minute commercial, But again, it all depends really on the budget.
So the setup of, Germany has, say, like a lot of equipment. And if you're looking for quality of, I think, audio equipment mostly, you definitely need to get some from Germany, or most of the equipment from Germany. I think even Rode is from Germany, the origin.
So. Yeah, the origin.
What do they do different? Did they really focus on machines that, really do sound? Do you have a lot of experts in those countries? Or it's actually the government pushing that?
No, it's just the industry, how they've been evolved. And actually now, like if we're talking about microphones, studio equipment, camera equipment, we have the two German companies. We don't want to make, but it's like Rode is one of the leading, catching up with Sennheiser. You know,
Sennheiser, yeah.
That's like another big player. So beyond that, you don't really need to search. I mean, that's Germany based and not Germany made necessarily. But quality-wise, I mean, you got it here. It's superb, you know, and it's been really within the last 10 years. Also, the prices have been dropping drastically, so that I'm now, you know, technically wise, it's the same standard like we're using in Germany.
What would you change about the industry, Uganda? Mostly the media industry. What would you change? Where are the loopholes? What have you seen? What have you noticed that is keeping us at least a little bit behind?
I mean, let's be for real. Radio-wise, you are ahead. Yeah,
wow.
You are ahead of what's going on in Germany. You know, like we are always making the mistake. I think radio is losing against social media in Europe. Full stop.
Even here.
Even here, but I mean, as you've proven within the last weeks, you're open for new concepts as well. And I think that is also needed in Germany, you know, like a bit more interaction and participation from both sides. And I think then actually more people would be able to log into radio again. But if you just do your program, you don't give a chance to listen to the audience, it's just like, so I can just put on a podcast and have my own style. Why should I tune in for the radio?
Let's speak about music that is played on radio.
Ooh. I don't even know where to start. It's really... I have to be careful here, but like the industry...
You don't need to be. This is a free world.
So I'll speak open. So the industry is basically ruling a lot of the radio stations, sometimes even owning the radio stations in Africa. So I really love radio stations which are open-minded and give... you know, players and especially like upcoming artists a chance, you know, to be heard. Because that's what radio should really be, a representation of, you know, its population and showing a little bit of the creativity, you know, which comes from every corner. And if you're just always just looking where the money is coming from, where the sponsorships are coming from, I mean, excuse me, but for the last 5 years, I got the same sound of Afrobeats in my ear and nothing has been changed. And it's the same thing in Europe. If we're taking it back now to the old school of hip hop, I could tell you, wow, this is this guy. I know that voice, I know that voice, I know that voice, I know that production. It was so distinct. Nowadays, everything is just like a broad mishmash of sounds. That's my opinion. Especially with always more and more lacking in the content and just... I feel leading the youth or giving the youth a wrong display about the importance of life, really. It's not all about making money, having, you know, big booty women and gold chains around your neck, hanging around, driving Porsches. That is played out. I mean, we already had this in the 80s. It's still so popular nowadays. Is for my generation surprising. I thought we already had that. But it's becoming more and more popular. So I'm like, sometimes I'm desperate, you know, but obviously, you know, where the money's at, they have to display that. I mean, we cannot always, you know, represent the realness in a way.
Thank you so much, Chris. And it's been quite an interesting discussion with you. Well, one last word.
Yeah, please.
For, you know, the viewers.
The viewers, well, I mean... What more can I say? Come here to Uganda, check out what's going on. There's a super huge, vibrant culture of young musicians, new artists which are on the scene. I've just been here for 3 weeks, but if you have the time, get down here, get in touch if you feel, you know, music is your passion. And I'm sure you'll be in it for loads of surprises. And I actually can't wait to get back here to Uganda.
Thank you so much. You can also follow us on TikTok. We're on the Recap Brand House, www.recapbrandhouseug. You can send us a message. And if you want to use this space for your podcast, we're always here, you know, at a cost that we'll definitely understand each other. My name is Timo. I've been with Chris, and we'll definitely come back. I hope we'll do a Zoom call, by the way, Chris.
All right, definitely.
It will help. Probably we'll keep in touch and then try to see that we get the industry forward. Key things to note: Uganda is ahead That's a wow, and that's a plus. Thank you so much, and I'll be here. Next time you will see me, probably I'll be with someone still special like Chris to discuss about radio production, radio imaging, and of course the whole industry, the media industry as a whole. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.